You are listening to the Fresh Take Network.
You're listening to the Fresh Take Network.
What it is, what it do, welcome to Fresh Take, the ISO podcast. It is a very special pod here. We have the duo of St. Mary's coaches coming off, not a championship year, but a very successful year for both coaches. We start with the men's side of things. He went back-to-back ACAC championship games. He witnessed the highest input of points from a player in Caleb Chibb this year, and he has built this St. Mary's program up. Coach Nathan Ruff, thank you for being on here, Nate.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. And he is part of the Canada basketball hoops circuit, and he did one of the best jobs you're going to see for a rookie head coach. Took over for the legendary Steve Schultz last year and got his women's team to the CCAA championship game, came in second in the ACAC championships in just his first year. One and only Abdell Farag.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it. I'll start off with you, Abdell. Just kind of the emotions that you're coming off here. First season as a rookie coach, just kind of talk about some of the ups and the downs, and ultimately weren't able to pull off to win the national championship, but obviously a season that you're very proud of.
I am super proud of the season. I'm also very grateful. Got some amazing support at St. Mary's. I mean, being Nathan there, he's been a huge help in my career and just growing it. Great group of girls in the program. Of course, with Steve being there in the past, he's done a great job with the program. And just, it was kind of for me to just step in and try to take that on and see what else I can do with it and build a new culture and a new vibe for the girls. And they bought in, and it took us as far as the final game. So that was very exciting.
Can I talk about the emotions of that final game in the CCA championship?
Oh, the emotions. It was very high, very low. I would say we were a little bit disappointed. I think we felt like we could have taken on that game and got the W for the girls and got the win. But sometimes, when you play in a great team, it just becomes a strategy versus strategy. And the way that game went, it was one of the best games I've ever been a part of. And the girls would feel the same. It's just we were very grateful and honored to have been there.
What's one thing you learned as a rookie head coach last year that you kind of hadn't taken in before in prior coaching experiences that you learned and that will take with you going forward now as you get ready for your sophomore season?
You can never be more. There's no such thing as being more prepared. You're always going to need to continue to prepare. That's something that I've learned. And recruiting is very important. Having the right pieces is key to getting as far as we have.
Absolutely. Well, you did, and you were back recruiting the next day and letting people know who's back with the program. So weren't stopping anytime soon. I think it was a day or 2 days after the national championship run there that you already were announcing recruits for the next year coming. So job's never finished.
No, never is. It's one of those jobs that's very rewarding and it's all year round, and we get to, continue to do our passion with a lot of grace, it's been a lot of fun.
And then for you, Nate, obviously season didn't go the way that you guys wanted. Expectations on the season, having the last season of, an all-time great former player of the year and Caleb Drip, Brock Dewsbury, a great player. You guys go to the ACAC championship in a really packed and passionate Briarcrest house. Kind of just talk about kind of how your guys' this season came to end and the ups and downs you guys had this season.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's always tough to lose, that important game, that semifinal, right? Over 3 years, 3 medals, which I got to keep telling myself, obviously, it's pretty special to be able to do that just in its own right? So, those back-to-back silvers, and then this year in the semifinal, you square off against Keanu, and they're fantastic. And Coach Jeremy has done a great job there, and those guys come to battle, they come to fight, they come to compete every day, right? And it was an awesome game. It was 88-82. So I think my biggest fear was when we didn't get through that game to the final and we were going to play in the bronze. I think my biggest fear was, will the guys still show up? Will they bounce back, right? Knowing that we had high aspirations and goals and hopes, will they still play for that game? Because it still matters, right? And very proud of them. They came back. They played great. I mean, Caleb, I think, had 37. Brock had 35, or vice versa, right? So between those two guys in their final game, they showed out, right? Scored 72 points combined, and we captured the bronze. And so although, the season might not have ended with us getting to go to the national tournament or with the championship, what we've done in the program and what the guys have done is phenomenal, right? And I couldn't be more proud of the players and the work that they put in, and not just them, right? I mean, that whole program, the whole team, everybody's really stepped up to the plate, bought into what my vision of Lightning basketball is and what I wanted us to be. And really that's all about the man, right? And building better men and really working together to accomplish our goals. And I think we did that well. So, yeah, it is disappointing. But I think there's still a level of success that we can't, take, look past. And it's not always going to be gold or nothing. Life isn't always gold, right? There's other things that happen in life, and you have to find your way through those. And then you have to find your successes in those moments that you have, right? So I think we did really well. Really proud of that. Obviously, I'm sad to watch Caleb and Brock finish, just because they're such great men and instrumental to our program. But at the same time, so proud of what they've done. I'm a fan, going to continue to watch those guys play. And now I get to say, next up, who's going to step up, and what are we going to do now, and what's next for us?
Was it kind of a little bit a small, obviously you go into the bronze, and we know how that can be. Like you said, heads might get down a little bit. But was there an extra motivation for you guys of losing the prior year to Keanu for the championship that said, at least we'd like to go out beating Keanu and get a little bit of redemption for losing that game?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And I mean, it's a great storyline, right? I think, when you step on the court, right, and when you come to compete and you come to battle and you play at this level, we can be great friends and a ton of respect, obviously, but no one ever wants to lose. So I can guarantee you we wanted that game. They wanted that game, right? Our guys came to fight. They were prepared to play hard. Keanu had a great game plan. They played so hard back. Keenan Miller, wow, what a player. Got hurt at the end. I hope that his knee is better. I hope that he's doing okay. I mean, man, that guy played so hard. And they beat us, right? So you accept that loss. But of course, there was no question that game was circled as kind of the one, right? And we've been there. So I guess right now Keanu is going to be my Achilles heel, and I'm going to find a way to get through that one. We'll figure it out, right? Yeah.
You've now gone to two really good crowds at the ACAC Championship. Which crowd, and maybe you don't have to answer this because this might be bulletin board material, so you don't have to answer this. Which crowd did you feel was rowdier or louder? Was it the Keanu crowd or was it the Briarcrest crowd? And again, it could be bulletin board material, so you do not need to answer that.
Well, I think it's different. I think it's different in each place. So, I mean, I don't need to pass. We didn't play Briarcrest in the finals, right? So I didn't have to see them in that playoff setting. So there's a difference to that, right? Keanu, I mean, I swear everybody in Fort McMurray was at that game. It was
100%.
It was crazy. And that makes for a fun event, a challenging event, right? But I think Briarcrest, I mean, we could say the same thing. Every person in Carenport was in that gym, right? Guaranteed. It was bananas in there. So
Yeah.
I think what I like most about this, if we're going to go this way, is the merit-based championship, where the team that kind of earned the right to be there, and they've then earned, generally that support helps carry them through the playoffs. It creates for incredible environments in the playoffs,
Yes.
because they already have a team that's a championship level team or a quality level team hosting it, bringing their fan support with them, and then obviously bolstering it. So I know it's challenging for the ACAC and the organization as a conference, doing the merit-based format. But I mean, man, back-to-back years, the host schools have gone to the championship. The host schools have got through. The crowds are there. The excitement in the gym is there. The energy's there. I love it. I think it's awesome, right? So I love what the format is. I love what we're getting to do. And I'm hopeful that we can continue to create great atmospheres in our championships, and that my team is in that final year after year.
Here's hoping. Abdell, you guys obviously had, there was obviously a mix-up, and Kings didn't think that they would be hosting the championship because they had badminton there. So then you went to Nate. So obviously didn't get the crowd, but going in and going to that championship against Steve, you guys get the early lead. First off, what was it like to have the ability kind of that night before knowing you're going to go against Steve Schultz, who had won a championship there, and then kind of getting that early lead and some of the back and forth in that game?
Honestly, it was great. We prepared well. The girls are really good at the shoot. We were preparing with our scout. They did a great job of understanding it and going into it. And we've seen them now this year. It felt like we've seen them too many times. And going into that game, we felt like we had a good shot at playing them really well. And, we didn't have the result that we wanted, but they were a phenomenal team. Even watching them at nationals, they were a phenomenal team. And, sometimes, you don't get the result you want, but they played well. It was a fun game to be a part of, and it was probably one of the coolest experiences for me and for the girls. It was something that they've been wanting all year, and they've achieved it. They got to that championship game.
What's some stuff as you've now coached collegiately that you take with you and on the Canada Hoop circuit?
I think that education and understanding that the level of competition is super high at all levels, U Sport and CCAA. I think there's a misunderstanding that kids can only go U Sport, or there's is the only path they can take. And seeing how the environment is in our league and how it is across the country in the CCAA, it's amazing. And that's something that I think there's got to be more education for the kids to understand, that there's more opportunities. It's not just about going U Sport. I mean, when I look at the number of schools in Canada, there's about 91, and that's including the CCAA. So there's a lot of options for the kids to play basketball in Canada and represent really well and compete at a high level.
Do you guys think now with the CBL, we saw a guy from Calgary this past weekend, Will Tong, get drafted. And obviously, with your guys' time at Mary's, you had players that had every opportunity to get drafted to CBL. And as I've been quite vocal, I do think we needed a women's equivalent of that. Do you think now that has changed a direction of where you go in some ways, of knowing, because I'm sure there's players in the past, I need to go to U Sport because it'll help me be a pro a little bit more. But now that you're seeing players that are going to Europe or going to CBL, being in CCAA, have you noticed a little bit of a trend of them changing their mind of always just being on the idea of just U Sport over CCAA?
No, I think you're seeing a little bit more of athletes understanding of, they need to find a place where they can play and excel, and that will open the door to where it's next for them, whether it's going pro or, even looking at some of the schools in the U Sport. I'm seeing a lot of players transfer over from the CCAA to the U Sport and having great careers in the U Sport, right? It's there has been a lot more camaraderie now, I say. There's a lot more communication between the two leagues, and it really has helped grow basketball in Canada, and that's something that we're going to continue to grow.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
think the one. Go ahead.
sorry,
Sorry.
Josh. Oh no,
No,
well,
go ahead.
I agree. I mean, I think, and Abdel kind of alluded to it. I mean, players have to. This is the education piece, right? So if you have aspirations to move beyond, let's say, the CCAA U Sport, D1, whatever it might be, you have to find the right fit for you where you can produce the way that you need to. You need to build a resume, right? And so where you can be an impact player, building your resume, showing what your skill set is what kind of opens and unlocks that door. What I love about the CEVL drafting CCAA players is that they recognize that there are players in our league that do have the impact on the floor, right? And that they can do those things, obviously, in the pro level too. So it's great to do that. Now I think it's just that educational piece. That's exactly what Abdel kind of alluded to is finding that place where you can impact and play. And that's fit, right? And so just like Abdel said, there's players that come down from U Sport to the CCAA and impact and have great careers. There's players that move up from the CCAA into U Sport, impact right away, and have great careers there too. We are definitely, and people might get mad at me for saying this, but it's the truth. At the CCAA level, it's not the same as the U Sport level. It's a different game. It's played a different way. Teams can compete. CCAA teams can compete against U Sport schools. But I would be the first to tell everybody that it's not the same league, and it's not one is better than the other, but they are different, and the game is different.
Yeah, I mean, as someone that calls both of them, I would agree with that. I see both on a regular basis. The one thing you talked about, that education thing, and I don't know how to word this per se, but I'm sure you guys are great with what you do. You can pick up kind of what I'm saying, but when we were at doing Canada Hoop Circuit this year, and you guys had so many great speakers, I noticed how serious a lot of the kids did take their education. And at least growing up and being a player myself, I always had basketball first ahead of my education. But I was so impressed, and so did some of my peers, was basketball. Oh yeah, I guess I have to go to college. I have to figure out what I'm going to take. And I'm sure there was around me that did care about their education, but I have really noticed, especially with this generation, how important the education of it and really understanding the student athlete side of things more than I think I've ever seen. I don't know if you guys would agree with that or disagree with it, but I think you're really seeing that installed. And obviously, when you guys have those talks at Canada Hoop Circuit or recruiting or whatever, you install that as well.
And I think it's very important. We're actually it's been great to see a lot of coaches that come out, from the CCAA, coaches that are coming out from the U Sport just within, across the country. The circuit is great. It's the only Canadian circuit that I've seen. It runs in all different provinces across the country, and there's a lot of different speakers that come out every year. And everyone has a different take on it, but the message is the same. It's really just education for the athletes. And I think now it's the next step is education to the coaches, right? The high school coaches, the club coaches. It's giving them that education and that tool to understand, okay, when you're giving advice to these young athletes, is understanding that the school is important. Like, you can't be an athlete at the collegiate level or the university level without being a student first. And I feel like that's not looked at the club level, and it's not really looked at the high school level. I commend all the coaches for doing what they can to help the community, which is great. But now I think it's up to us, coaches out in the community that are coaching at a high level, to take the time to educate the coaches out in the community and our closest communities that we're around, and give them that education back so they can understand what advice to give the kids and helping them, guide them through the next step that they want, especially for kids that have aspirations to play at the next level.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you can't play college if you can't get into college.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I think kids don't get it. So, I mean, and it goes back to just understanding, right? The NCAA has higher entrance standards than probably anywhere else. Right. So you want to be
Trust me, I know. I tried to apply to North Carolina before I settled on state.
Right.
Just to say I did. And it was not, there was a lot more requirements, let's just say, to get to North Carolina and some other American schools than to get into state. I am very happy I went to state alone. but it is definitely is that.
That's right. So it school matters. School makes a big difference. Even for us as coaches with our teams, if I have to worry about a player getting through the semester, then I can't rely on that player to be part of my program. Right? How do I count on them in an impact role on my team if I can't rely on them to get through the grades and the classes that they need to play?
Yeah.
So, yeah, for everyone listening, parents, kids, coaches, club coaches, anybody that tunes in, the first priority should not be basketball.
No, it should be the education.
Yep. And I would even argue the first priority should be family, then school,
definitely.
Then we can talk about basketball.
Obviously, the one thing I was interested for both of you, and me and you talked a little bit about this off air beforehand, Nate, but and I'm interested for you for this, Abdell, but and obviously in the States, we're seeing NIL is really starting to change the game quite significantly. We don't have NIL up here in Canada, but have you noticed that the transfer portal or the recruiting portal has changed over these past 5 years? Or is it obviously for you, Abdell, it's really your first year now getting to, after having the main roster going into the offseason, after seeing what you had. So a little bit different for you, but I guess for you, Nate, have you noticed a significant difference over the time that you've been there from when you first started to now of how the transfer portal to the recruiting portal goes now?
I don't think it's quite the same as I think we kind of assume or think it might be maybe in the NCAA. I think the first thing that changes is winning breeds winning, right? So when you win and you build a program, players want to be part of that, which is awesome, right? That's great. And it makes the recruitment a little bit easier. Transfers in our league is a little bit different, right? And there's different rules around it. So as a coach, I can't just, look at, I don't know, we'll use Sate as an example and we'll use Marcus Masters as an example, right? I can't just call Marcus Masters as a coach at St. Mary's and be like, dude, you're great. Come play here, right? So we have our rules and stuff against that. And so does the NCAA. And I think that's part of where this transfer portal and stuff kind of came into place for them, is that players wanted to explore options but didn't know how to be contacted or reach out. And so when they got to go into this transfer portal, it allowed coaches then to be like, oh, this kid's available. He's great. Let me go talk to him, right?
Yeah.
So it's different for us in that respect, that we don't have anything that kind of opens up the door for us from there. And we say that Abdell, it's his first year doing this as a head coach, but I will go on record so that everyone knows, best recruiter I've ever worked with, bar none.
I don't doubt it.
Bar none. Okay. So he knows how to recruit better than anybody I've worked with. So he gets it. He knows.
Appreciate it.
And so kind of following up on that question I was having there, Abdell, like what's it been like, obviously being the master recruiter that you are, but having to have a season played now? How was it different of taking over last season, looking at that roster? You know these girls well because you were already at the school, but now you've gotten a chance to see these players play. Obviously, some have moved on, including the player of the year in Miller, and Kellogg has also moved on. And now recruiting and keeping some players you've had intact. How have both seasons been a little bit different for you?
I think the only difference is maybe just the adaptation to the players when we get into preparing our system and what we want to do. I know a lot of coaches like to have seen this a lot. Coaches will run the same thing over and over again. It's great to have a system that works, but you can't always recruit to that system. It's really difficult to do that. So for me, what's been very successful for me and for Nathan is when we recruit the players that we feel fit us and fit this program that we have at St. Mary's. And we adapt to them, right? Of course, there's foundation and fundamentals that we have within our program, but that's kind of the main concept of what we do. What has really helped me, though, understanding that is having to really just find my core first So I found my core when I came in, who's going to be the players that, we can build the culture around, build the philosophy around. And then from there, I was able to recruit to fit that specifically. And the same thing for this year. We figured out who the returners are, who the core players will be for me. And then the recruits, from what I've recruited, is how does that fit the players we have, and what system we want to play with. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun.
When do you guys typically start doing team prep and all that kind of stuff? You start looking at like July or August when you start getting the teams together, or is it a bit later than that?
No, it's earlier.
It's much earlier. Okay. I would say we've kind of started a little bit. I mean, I'm always in contact with my players. The girls are great. We do a lot of community events. We go out there and, help out young athletes that are looking, to aspire to learn the game. So that's a good way for me to keep them together. So we've been doing that. We're very excited about our Lightning Camp. That's another tool that we are able to, present to the community and, allow for young female and male athletes to be wanting to grow and learn the game. And we're super excited about that as well. But that's a good way for me to keep the girls together. But we do a lot of different things. We like to do a lot of team bonding. So we have like a routine of that with my team that we do. And it's something we do on a monthly basis. And then, of course, we have our training in the gym, getting ready, dry lands. Like there's so much we do that we get ready for the season. And it's been very effective for me, at least for my first year. It's been very effective. But I know for Nathan, it's something that we've worked towards building for a long time, and we've found our groove through it now. And our athletes are, phenomenal at accepting that, which has been really good.
Yeah, I mean, Abdell's right. And it, much to my family's dismay, basketball never kind of ends. It just kind of changes intensities maybe a little bit, right? So, you get through nationals and that kind of stuff, and, maybe we get a week or two break, or sort of. I think I'm always working. And then that team building stuff, like the summer runs, I mean, it's another misconception. So it's our off season, right? So we use that, but that word off really, this is where the most movement happens for our athletes. This is where they can make the greatest strides and the greatest impact on their season of play, right? So there's workouts, one-on-one workouts. There's, strength and conditioning workouts, dry land sessions. We obviously have team sessions, workouts, runs, and then there's the balance piece, right? So, in the fancy terms, we talk about our periodization, and we're trying to build it and balance out our schedules. You don't want to burn out your athletes. We're going to try something new this year. So for me, this is new, but we're going to take the month of July off. So there will be no Lightning basketball from my perspective in terms of what my expectation is of them meeting us or coming to our workouts in the month of July. So I really want to make sure that we take a break and that we stop. The reality is, when you get to this level, you have to love the game. So I might not have a scheduled St. Mary's run. I'm certain that the players will continue to do runs and workouts and shoots and that kind of stuff. It just won't be mandated by our program, right? So we're going to try and take the month of July off. We're going to see what that looks like. How does that work? How did that prepare us? And then we start to ramp up, like Abdell said, into our training camps and things like that.
So Abdell, this year now it'll switch in the ACAC, and the women will have a potential to host. And kind of a flip I'll ask you for this past season, Nate. When now with the new way that the ACAC does this hosting of home court that's happened now for about 3 or 4 years now, do you go into a camp, and is that an extra incentive? Obviously, winning the championship, but our goal is obviously you want to win your division, so there's that. But winning the division gets us home court advantage for provincials.
I mean, that approach I would say is more of it's already there. The girls are already aware of that, but we don't approach the season that way. I've actually, even the way we started the season, we don't approach the season by winning or losses. Our approach is understanding that we are there to build a team. We are there to have a process of how to get there as a team. And our goal this year specifically for our girls was, how do we build a culture of excellence? What's the expectation from the education side of it all the way through to the basketball? and even just to the fundamentals, the skills, just at the time on their own that they put in, and just building the right habits, really. And that's my approach to basketball, and the results kind of speak for themselves. If you put in the work, the result will happen, right? And that's something that we've been really focused on, and for me, at least, that's my philosophy.
Well, and it worked out because you had a Defense Player of the Year, and multiple All-Stars. So it definitely paid off on that side of things. What about you this year, Nate? Did you guys kind of go in and be like, because I do think at the beginning of the year, everyone was like, well, it's obviously, with all respect to Briarcrest, but I think a lot of people are like, well, Marys will probably get home court, because they were in the championship last year and they'll get it. If not, maybe Sate will come back up, and maybe it's a launch shot. Maybe Hagee will replenish Lethbridge and whatnot. I don't think, at least from my side of things, not enough people were talking about Briarcrest. And then as the season got going and you started seeing like, oh, this Briarcrest team is really good. Okay, there you have a good chance to take it.
Well, yeah, the home court's nice, right? And so playing for those kind of advantages are helpful, right? And stuff that you want. Abdell's right, and I would agree. We didn't build the program around the idea of we're going to win the division so that we can host, right?
Right.
Draw. And you know what? Look at the national championships, and it's the draw matters, right? So who you get matched up against, what your lineup is, it makes a difference, right? So by the end of the year, we were talking about draw. Where did we want to be? Who did we want to be opposite of? Things like that. In the ACAC, I'm not sure that there's a spot in the draw that really makes a difference on the men's side, because every night you got to fight, you got to battle, right? So we didn't start the year out, I don't think, with the home court advantage idea. Obviously it would have been nice, and we were close to it. We had the opportunity. It actually came down to that weekend when we played Briarcrest, right? And the winner of that weekend was going to be the host. So you want it. Nobody doesn't want it, right? Anybody that says they don't want it, they're kind of lying to you, right? But we didn't start the year out that way, right? You gotta make sure that the metaphor, the ship's got to be pointing the right direction. We've got to be on the boat, and we got to be rowing the right way, right? So we've got to worry about that stuff first, and then let the other pieces kind of fall in place, right? And credit to Briarcrest and Shane. They did a fabulous job this year, and he returned a great core group of guys coming into this season. And they were playing high-level basketball really early, and it showed throughout the year for them. So they had a heck of a season and a great team that represented us at nationals well, and they played really well.
A few last questions here, and I'll let you guys run. Just on you really quick here, Nate. So you had a few seasons with the St. Trojans, and then decided to go on your own way and venture to St. Mary's. And you have now built up this program to be one of the most respectable programs in Canada. Just had a player that broke the scoring record. Kind of just talk about these past, 5-6 years now at Mary's, and your start to where you are now.
Ooh, I don't know if we got enough time, Josh.
I know it's a very loaded question. You're
talking my love language here. So, basketball has just been what I've been passionate about and what I loved, right? And so, you get to work. So I got to work at SAIT with Mike Stevens, and I got to work at SAIT with Marty Berkey. And, we talk about like recruits and recruiters. Marty is one of the best there is as well. He had a wonderful pipeline and connection. And we were starting to build stuff there. And through those experiences that I had, I knew that I wanted to move over to my own program, and I wanted to try things a little bit different. And St. Mary's, you have to do things different. We had to come in and recruit the same way that a SAIT could, or some of the other colleges that we would, that I've been part of, or that are our competitors. So those first few years really was about roster retention and integrity, right? Keeping guys in the program that we could build up, creating a core, and then building that core forward. And that's where the last 5 to 6 years really kind of helped establish us, right? So as Abdell said earlier, We talked about fit for me, right? The program. So guys that would come in, I have to like these guys. I spend more time with them sometimes than I do with my family, right? And so if I don't like them, I'm going to hate my year. And my family is going to question, why do we do this? Why are we doing this, right? Obviously, so there's those pieces that really matter, and you build these right guys through it, and then you keep them there. And so what was amazing for me, what becomes amazing for me, is you get these men like Caleb and Brock and guys that Plumey that have found their way to us, and you build a relationship with them, and they find that this is their home, right? And that we are there for them, and that we take care of them as men first. And so kind of one of my philosophies is that you take care of the man, right? And if you take care of the man, the winds will follow. And that obviously has happened for us. And you still have to have tough conversations. And you can't, as much as I want them all, and I want to create a space that everybody can be there and be successful, the experience, the fun, the men, you take care of those guys in those situations, and they'll become a Lightning ambassador for us, right? And they will want to win for the program, and they will want to win for those guys that are coming next, and those kind of things. And so that's kind of how everything kind of developed, and the philosophy kind of created. I got to work with Abdell, obviously, the entire time, right? So we kind of built this together. I told him the amount of times that I hated that he wasn't with us going into this championship was a lot. Where this would be the first time in a long time that we would go separate ways and not be in the same gym at the same time. And I didn't like it. It wasn't enjoyable for me. But obviously to watch our guys build up through that, and then you get to see those successes that they have, right? So yes, Caleb had an incredible career and broke the scoring record, right? Brock, he was an All-Canadian 3 out of 4 years in the CCAA, right? A 3-time All-Canadian. My goodness, what a career, right? And if he would have played 5 years in the CCAA, he would have smashed Caleb's record, right? So you take a player like that, and I got lucky enough to have both of them at the same time. And then the year before that, I had John Paul, who holds the ACAC rebounding record. And these are just guys that you look at and you find something that is special and unique to them. And obviously there's a talent, and there's a talent in coaching. You have to be able to find that player. You have to see what makes them special, and then you have to bring it out of them, right? And you have to empower them to do those things. And so that's where that relationship becomes important. So I've been very lucky, very fortunate, very grateful for the men that have chosen to put their trust in me and build this program the way that it's built. I'm nothing without the guys around me. I'm nothing without the coaches around me, right? This program is built on the foundation of the people that put in the hard work to get there. And then it's our job now to keep that foundation and that winning as high as we can, and just keep building up, right? And taking care of those guys in front of you. And so we're going to see something new next year, because I won't have these 2 prolific scorers in our program. But we've got great guys that have been in the background waiting for their time. So I'm really excited just to watch these guys come out and have the spotlight and have their opportunity. And I'm certain they're not gonna disappoint, right? I'm excited for Plumey's senior season, and I'm sure everybody's already out there looking at it, but it's coming, right? And so I'm excited to build that with him and then keep him invested in us. Obviously, the way he has been is special. So, you know, it's all kind of around that philosophy, and we're so fortunate to be able to have those guys that saw it, that felt it, that believed in it, that believed in me and the coaches around us, to be part of it, right? And I think that's the true testament of it. I'm just another piece of the puzzle that has to do his job and fit in there. It's all those other stuff, right? So I want to give my love back to those guys that have done all that work and that have worn the Lightning jersey, right? They did the work that helped us be where we are today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Abdell, one last question for you, and then I got 2 questions, then we'll get out of here. But the Canada Hoop Circuit, kind of just explain how that kind of all came together.
Oh man, I mean, Alberta Hoop Summit was something that Paul, he's the president of the Canada Hoop Circuit. He just contacted me and he was like, "Hey, would you be interested in putting a team in for nationals?" And then I was like, "Wait, what are we talking about here?" And then he explained the circuit and how it works, and it was running across the country. You know, they ran it out east a lot more. They ran one in BC. That's where it started, in British Columbia. And then with him being a part of the Windsor men's basketball program at the time when it started, it seemed like an idea that was exciting, because I hear about the Nike circuit, I hear about the Adidas circuit, the Under Armour circuit. There's so many circuits in the States that are running, the EYBL, right? That all these different circuits, and I was like, why isn't there one for Canada? Like, there's a lot of young athletes that deserve the chance to be, shown and showcased to all the college coaches across the country, and that's where the idea came from, and where it started. And just watching it now grow in the past 5 years, it's been a beautiful thing. And Alberta Hoop Summit is, going into the 3rd year now hosting it, so it's gonna be a very exciting tournament.
It's going to be a very exciting summer. Last questions here for you guys. I'll start with back to you, Abdell. The award ceremony, seeing Miller win Defensive and Player of the Year, just kind of talk about the emotions she went through, kind of seeing her able to capture both of those awards, well earned.
Me and my coaching staff, we talk about this a lot, and even me and Nate. It's empowering athletes, empowering women. And when we talk about a strong, I don't know, just it's hard for me to speak on Nate just because she's a great woman. Just the person that she is, the heart that she puts into the sport, the heart that she puts in everything she does. Now she's going to be a phenomenal teacher moving forward in her life. She just got engaged. I'm super excited for her. Awesome. She's phenomenal. I don't know how to describe it, and I couldn't have been more proud and super happy for her. I think we were all super emotional just seeing her achieve all of that, and she's poured her heart out absolutely on the floor, and every day on and off the court, she doesn't have a quit in her. We're gonna miss her. She's gonna be dearly missed in the league, I believe, really dearly missed.
Absolutely. And then as far as the personal side for you, Nate, the Caleb game, I was lucky enough to have the broadcast of that. Honestly, it's a top 3 broadcasting moment for me. I felt very privileged that I was there, and had a good cry with Caleb about it after, when he's like, "You're the one I wanted to call it." So that was obviously gets you very emotional. I'll hit on that in a bit about St. Mary's students in a bit. I want to make a point to both of you about that, but kind of just talk about the ups and downs in that game, because there was points where like, he's not getting it. It's not happening. And then all of a sudden, because I've said he's the ACAC Steph Curry, he just started getting hot, started hitting things, and it just seemed like he was going to get it. And then I think it was 1 point away, and then it was the decision. Well, we're up by a lot. I don't want him to get hurt. Do I bench him? What do I do?
Well, yeah, right. I mean, you got to give a shout out even to Ambrose, right? They played us tough in that game, which creates that kind of moment, right? Where you sit there and you're just like, I had to pull it up, because if you're going to ask me about all the details of that game, Josh, I don't know if I can give it to you. I know we ended up kind of coming out with a pretty strong 3rd and 4th, which ended up getting us there. But I think Ambrose, they had the lead at halftime.
They did.
Mm-hmm. Right?
There was a buzz. In the Lions den.
Right. And so, like you can't take that away from them, and I wouldn't want to take that away from them. They played really hard in that game, right? So we had to go into halftime, and we had to kind of check ourselves a little bit, right? And take a moment to say, what are we here for, and what are we doing this for? And also knowing that we needed to prepare ourselves for the playoffs, right? So you get out there and you kind of say to the guys like, okay, let's figure this out. And so what's kind of interesting about that game, and you take Caleb, right? And I don't know, let's see, first quarter here, 4 points.
Oh, getting the full
Second
breakdown.
quarter, 2 points.
Yeah.
Right.
At that point, we did not think it was happening.
Of course
they were
not.
like, they were giving me the notes and like, oh, what are you going to say? How are you going to say he's going to break it? And I'm like, I don't like to plan that stuff out personally as a broadcast, but you just let it come to you. But then I was at that point, I'm like, oh, he's not going to do it tonight. Oh, well.
Right. Well, and then third quarter, 3 points.
Yes.
Right. And he didn't need a lot, right?
No.
So he finished the
like
final frame with 7, which
Yeah.
was nice, right? So 16 points, and he got it there. And that's it, right? So as a coach, you're trying to figure out, like, how do you get through this? And where do you weather the storm? And what's more important, a record or the win?
Yes.
Right. And so, you know, what gets overshadowed in a game like that is Plumie had 30 points and 10 rebounds.
He did. He was balling.
Right. So
Yes, he did.
the ups and downs of the game, you know, and the record, right? So the record weighs on these guys, right? And you could probably see it in Caleb's shooting numbers, right? Like that's not a night for him. I think he was 3 for 13 from the 3-point line.
Yeah.
Right. That's not what Caleb does, but it sits there and it weighs on you a little bit. So that emotional kind of roller coaster, you try and weather it. You try and find your way through it. You have your ups and downs, but you coach for the win. And however we get the win, right? And you get the guys going where they need to get going. And so, you know, it's so important and special for Caleb to be able to do what he did, right? And I'm so proud of him. And then he had an incredible night the next night, right? And we got to kind of finish the season at home, you know, but I also think that part of that is because the pressure was off, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's funny, you have these moments and people talk about, you know, what's it like to be there. And it was great, right? Because we got to be there. I'm pretty sure I pointed at you at one point when we sent him to the free throw line.
You did.
Right?
You did.
Here it comes. And so that was a great opportunity for us, and we all get to share that moment. But the funny thing is when you talk about those moments, you kind of sometimes miss what happened. Yeah. Right? And what happened was we had a player score 30 points and get 10 rebounds. Yeah. Dang. Right? And so, you know, for me, like, it's so cool to get to see that. And it's so cool to watch my guys find a way to win. And the thing that we'll talk about, Caleb, is the record mattered, of course, right? Anybody would lie if they said it didn't matter. Caleb probably cared more about the team winning the game and Plumie doing what Plumie did than he cared about getting the record. And I think that's just a testament to who he is as a person.
Yeah. Well, and that's a perfect way to kind of end it, because I would say, you know, people that know me, I work for the Dinos, I work for the Trojans, and I work for Ambrose. I've never worked or called a game for Mary's, but there is a connectiveness that both Jermaine and I do have with the program. And I think the one of the major things about it is it's just generally good human beings on that team. I remember when you guys had the unfortunate loss to Keanu, I was so heartbroken for JP Okadua, because I have never met a kinder guy in my entire life. And I walked out and I even told Jeremy afterwards, I'm like, I'm happy you won, Jeremy, but that kid, I wanted it so bad for him because he's such a nice kid. Or talking to Brock or talking to Caleb. And then I always butcher her name, so forgive me. Is it Matlin or Maitland? I always forget which one it is.
It's Maitland. Yeah.
And we did the post-game interview with her. I had never met her, and she was one of the best interviews I ever did, and one of the nicest young women I have ever gotten an opportunity to talk to. So kind. And that goes from anyone from Mary's. So I guess I'm just giving a compliment here that, you know, you guys have talked about the coaching, but the outside of the coaching and, you know, growing these individuals. And just to say, you know, someone that has to interview these players and, you know, get information from them about the game, just some of the genuine best that I've seen at any level of the game.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's what we Adele talked about it, right? That's why we started this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it goes to the coaching too. You guys, you know, as someone that, you know, I've been in the league now for 10 plus years, but you make it easier to be approachable to your players and have conversations about the game to make our broadcast even better. And so as a broadcaster, that makes things a lot better for us as well, that we get to have that connective tissue of getting to have the relationship with you guys and then getting to have the, you know, knowing some stuff about the players and getting a little bit know about them. So it's an added bonus for being a broadcaster.
Well, hey man, you've done this for a long time, and you put a lot of skin in the game, and I'm pretty proud to just get an opportunity to be part of what you do, and I think you do it great. You represent the league well. You represent your school as well. I throw shots at you because you don't give me all the love that you should sometimes.
Yeah, I got to give a little bit more.
It
was very tough.
Yeah.
When State was facing Mary's, I'm like, on one hand, it's my alma mater, and I'm happy for them. But on the other side, it's like I do work. Abdell's my buddy, and he's also my boss, so I do want him to win as well. And so it's like my emotions, like Ron Burgundy says in Anchorman, I'm in a glass case of emotions. I don't know what to do here.
Yeah, no, it's good, man, and you do it great. You do a great job in your program, in your announcing, in your calls, and right, like it's fun to get to be part of it. The media side of it for me, this is fun. I mean,
yeah,
and the world and technology has created an opportunity where we get to do these things, right? So, I think it's important that we get to showcase our athletes, and I'm glad that we get to do interviews with them, and there's somebody there that can do these things. It would be a tragedy if the world didn't get to know people like Maitland or Caleb, or Brock, right? So anybody that can lift these kids up and we can kind of spotlight them for a little bit, and we can show the world like how great these people are. Like, yeah, we need to do that. Right? They work hard for this, and they deserve that recognition.
Absolutely. Any last words from either side here?
No, man. Thanks for having us out. This was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate having both of you on. Best of luck going into the. I'm so jealous. You guys get to do all these runs, and you're like, oh, basketball never stops. And I'm very happy that I'm doing Canada Hoop Circuit this summer, and thank goodness for it, because if not, like, I have this wave where I'm doing baseball and football stuff, and I'm just kind of waiting till the end of October to get going. So it's kind of nice to have a little bit of a bridge now.
Well, we'll just bring you out to a run so you can sit there.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Come see what we got.
I'm more than happy to do that and do announcing just to get them kind of hyped up and ready to go. But Nate, Abdell, thank you so much. St. Mary's basketball doing things at the top right now. And until next time, folks, thank you for listening. Cheers and enjoy the day, people.